England losing?
Of course.
Is she going to take part?
Hello.
Are you sad about England losing?
Of course.
Is she going to take part?
Hello.
Are you sad about England losing?
Of course.
Lay down.
Squaddies, we need to talk about a week that basically wrote its own headline. Prince Harry walked into the Time100 Gala in New York looking like a man who finally exhaled. And while that was happening, Meghan picked up a Daytime Emmy nomination for Pearl. Two separate moments. One obvious pattern. And today we're breaking down exactly why the contrast between how this couple gets treated in America versus how they got treated back home tells you everything you need to know about who the real problem was all along. Stick around, because by the end of this video you're going to understand why the tabloid machine is furious this week and why they should be. Let's start in New York. Time100 is one of those events where the cameras are relentless and the small talk is basically a stress test. It's the kind of environment that would expose anyone who's uncomfortable in their own skin. And Harry? Harry looked like he owned the block. He wasn't rushing past photographers with his head down. He wasn't giving one-word answers and bolting for the door, which, let's be honest, used to be the standard operating procedure whenever a UK photographer got within 20 feet of him. Instead, he stopped. He talked. He laughed. He actually engaged with the American press pack like a person having a good night, not a man bracing for the next ambush. And that's not a small detail, squaddies. That's the entire story. For years, we watched Harry navigate British media appearances like he was walking through a minefield, because he was. Every public event back home came loaded with the possibility that a journalist would lob a question designed to bait a reaction, dig up old family wounds, or twist a throwaway comment into a 3-day tabloid cycle. That's not paranoia. That's a pattern this channel has documented over and over, from the way certain UK outlets covered his engagements to the way they covered his grief. When you spend years being treated like a target instead of a person, you stop smiling for the cameras, you get guarded, you get careful, you become, in the words of every lazy royal commentator who's ever existed, tense. But put that same man in front of an American press pool that's actually there to talk about his work instead of manufacturing a scandal, and suddenly he's cracking jokes. Suddenly he's relaxed. Funny how that works. It's almost like the problem was never Harry's personality. It was the environment he was forced to perform in for over 3 decades. Let's put some receipts on the table, because we don't do vibes on this channel, we do evidence. Harry has said this plainly on the record more than once. The pressure from the British press wasn't a minor annoyance. It was a sustained, documented pattern of intrusion that he has directly linked to real harm, to his mental health, to his relationships, and famously to the loss of his mother. This isn't a sensitive prince who can't take a joke narrative that certain commentators love to push. This is a man who watched in real time as his wife was put through a tabloid gauntlet that multiple independent observers, not just Sussex squad members, independent observers, compared to what happened to Diana. And when he said so publicly, he was mocked for it. When he sought legal action against publishers over unlawful practices, he was painted as bitter. When he simply asked for basic security protocols that any other public figure with his profile and threat level would automatically receive, he was accused of playing victim. So when you watch that Time100 footage and you see a man visibly enjoying himself with American media, ask yourself the question the UK rota conveniently never asks. What does it say about the British press machine that Prince Harry only seems to relax when he's 5,000 miles away from it? That's not a coincidence. That's a report card. And it's failing. Now, let's talk about Meghan. Because while Harry was working the red carpet, She was quietly racking up a Daytime Emmy nomination for Pearl through Archewell Productions. And I want to be really clear about why this matters beyond just cool an award nomination. Think about the narrative that certain corners of the media spent years trying to sell you. The one where Meghan was supposedly unemployable, where her career was over the second she stepped back from royal duties, where every business venture was preemptively declared a flop before it even launched. We heard it about her lifestyle brand. We heard it about her podcast. We heard it about literally everything she's touched since 2020. And yet, here we are, watching her rack up industry recognition from the people who actually work in that industry. Not royal commentators with zero background in television production, but the Television Academy. People whose entire job is evaluating creative work on its merits. That's the kind of validation that doesn't come from a friendly headline. It comes from peers in the field looking at the work and saying, this is good enough to be in the conversation. This is a woman who was a working actress long before she was a duchess, who built a career on her own before any of this, and who has spent the years since stepping back from royal life, proving repeatedly that betting against her was always the losing bet. The Emmy nomination isn't the story on its own. The story is the pattern. Every single time the tabloid machine writes her obituary, she goes and does something that makes them quietly delete the headline. Here's where it gets infuriating, squaddies, and you already know where I'm going with this. Picture for a second how this exact same week would have been covered by certain UK outlets if the details were slightly different. Imagine if Harry's ease with the American press had instead been a moment of visible discomfort. You already know the headline. Awkward Harry struggles at gala. Imagine if Meghan's Emmy nomination had instead been a loss. You already know that headline too. Meghan snubbed again. We don't have to imagine this, because we've watched this exact playbook run for years on this couple, while other royals get the benefit of the doubt on stories that are objectively more serious. This is the double standard this channel exists to document. When Harry looks relaxed and happy, some corners of the press quietly ignore it or find a way to spin it as him showing off or seeking attention. When Meghan gets recognised professionally, the story gets buried under 3 paragraphs about her outfit. Compare that to the soft focus, uncritical coverage certain other royal family members receive, even when the underlying story is genuinely unflattering. The Sussex squad has known this for years. This week is just the latest data point. And look, none of this happens in a vacuum. While the tabloids fixate on red carpet body language and award nominations, Harry and Meghan's actual day-to-day work through Archewell keeps moving. Mental health initiatives, support for families, the kind of unglamorous groundwork that doesn't generate a scandal headline, so it doesn't get covered nearly as much as it should. That's worth sitting with for a second. The couple that gets accused of seeking attention is doing the quiet, sustained, charitable work that a genuine attention seeker would have zero interest in, because it doesn't come with a splashy front page. That's the part of this story that never gets the airtime it deserves. Not because it isn't newsworthy, it absolutely is, but because it doesn't fit the narrative certain outlets have spent years building. A relaxed, thriving Harry and a professionally validated Meghan, quietly doing meaningful work on the side, is not a story that sells papers built on manufactured conflict, so it gets buried. Online, the reaction has been exactly what you'd expect from people who've been paying attention. Fans immediately picked up on how different Harry looked compared to his most guarded UK appearances. Genuinely happy, present, engaged. And Meghan's supporters didn't waste any time either. pulling up her early acting work as a reminder that this is a woman who has always had the range. The talent wasn't ever in question, only the platform. The through line in almost every reaction I've seen is the same one we've been making on this channel for a long time. This couple isn't struggling in exile. They're thriving outside a system that spent years trying to convince the public they'd fail without it. Every milestone, every relaxed red carpet moment, every industry nomination is one more brick pulled out of that narrative. So here's the question I want to leave you with. If Harry only seems to relax around press that isn't hunting for a scandal, and Meghan only seems to get fair recognition when she's outside the reach of certain UK institutions, what does that actually tell you about where the dysfunction was really coming from? I think you already know the answer. If this video gave you the receipts you needed for your next group chat argument, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, because this channel exists to keep pulling these threads every single time the tabloid machine tries to rewrite the story. Drop a comment and tell me what stood out to you most. Harry's press ease, Meghan's Emmy nod, or the double standard we just walked through. I read every single one. Hit the like button if you're part of the Sussex squad and you're tired of the double standards too, and I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves, squads.